Israel's leaders often make statements about how they will, fight back against Israel's enemies. They will, cause them all sorts of damage and so on. And we've seen some exceptions to the rule, but as a general rule, Israel doesn't actually follow through on such threats, and of course, ends up with what you end up with when you refuse to acknowledge that you're at war and there's an enemy that wants to kill you. Iran, on the other hand, when they make statements, they follow through. When they make threats, we've seen that with the attack back in April. They act on these threats. And Iran's most recent threats following the assassination of Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran are bolder than previous threats. It does seem like they absolutely intend to do more than they've done in certainly more than they've done in April. And when the issue of all-out war in the Middle East comes up, they have stated that they don't mind that happening. Whereas the West keeps saying, even when doing as little as possible to prevent what might happen or to respond to attacks on Israeli citizens. Israel and their so-called allies keep repeating, "We do not want war." War is coming. We know that. We don't know when. We don't know if it's coming with the next Iranian attack. We don't know what Iran's full capabilities are. We do know that when they are capable of following through with their main promise, which is to eliminate the state of Israel, as soon as they're able to do that, they will. So the question is, where are we now? Why is Israel not acting? And what is coming in the near future and perhaps in the more distant future? Welcome to the Daily Objective. I'm joined by James Valliant. James, what do you make of what's been going on since Haniyeh was killed and what we should expect?
Well, if anything equivalent happened in the West, there would be immediate calls for restraint because, after all, we don't know who this Hanea guy. How about could it be part of the Sunni Shia conflict? Could it be Muslims that did this? Could it be part of the anti-Iranian government movement that exists among the sane or more sane element of the Iranian population? I want proof. I want absolute proof before they do a darn thing. Now, that, of course, would be in the West. So in Iran, we'll go by now inferences here. Since it was a Hamas leader who was killed, it must be Israel behind it. I think that inference is a sound one. But, thank you. If I'm cutting out, I'm glad I'm no longer, my image is no longer interfering with my audio. But the truth of the matter is that Iran is the perpetrator of all the violence against Israel that has happened over the last 20 years. I'm going to repeat, they are part of the perpetration of all of this. Every Hezbollah attack, every Hamas attack has been funded, bankrolled, supported, encouraged by Tehran. October 7th was funded, encouraged, promoted by Iran. They are the aggressors here. They are all out aggressors. They, in the wake of October 7th, in the wake of any response by Israel, what have they done? They've encouraged the Houthis, whom they are by, the Hezbollah, Americans in the region have got killed. And of course, as you point out, in April, hundreds of rockets and missiles in a direct attack from Iran were headed to Israel. Now, before the death of this Hamas monster, we were at war with Iran. Iran is using everything in its power to directly attack Israel through its agents to kill Americans, through its agents to shut down shipping through the Suez Canal and the Red Sea. They are at war with civilization. They are at war with the West. If someone can launch hundreds of missiles and rockets at you, and you're the one saying, "Hey, well, we don't want to, have escalation or anything," you are the biggest sucker. You are the biggest blind fool on the planet. But that is, of course, the West, this giant blind fool. we have to recognize that we are at war with Iran. That evasion that has been going on for not just 20 years, but 40 years has been what's characterized the West's response. As I pointed out, if something like this were to happen in the West, oh, well, who did it? How do we know? Are we sure? After all, we don't want to cause aggression. Iran has no such qualms. Iran has no such problems. Even if it were something internal within Iran which caused the execution of this guy, they would still blame Israel and they'd still go after Israel. And as I say, it's still the natural inference. Israel was responsible. But the point is that we shackle ourselves. We shackle ourselves epistemologically. We shackle ourselves morally, and we've got our heads so far in the ground like ostriches that we can't even recognize that we are in the middle of a war in which Iran is directly attacking Israel. Now, don't be confused by the Iron Dome defense. Don't be confused by the fact that Israel to prevent the killing any one Bedouin girl, but one Bedouin girl is me. And are at war. And so, in all of this consideration in the West, don't escalate, don't escalate. We don't want them to escalate. Ladies and gentlemen, until Iran is the one who fears escalation, we will be under the gun of Iranian attacks. And the most targeted, specific, look, Israel should have killed many, 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 many people in Iran. They targeted a leader of Hamas who was behind October 7th. That kind of precision attack against someone who is directly responsible for October 7th, mind you, should morally, of course, not be a cause for any kind of reaction unless you're in favor of October 7th. So if we imagine that Iran, okay, we want to cool Iran down, we want to stop them. No, 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 no. Iran is October 7th. That's what people have to get into their head. Let it sink all the way down. Yes, there's another attack coming, but it's part of an ongoing aggressive war being waged by Iran against Israel and, by the way, America, as they've been engaged in the last 20 to 40 years. So we shouldn't be waiting. We shouldn't be waiting. We should be engaged right now in preemptive, all-out attack to prevent any kind of missile assault on Israel, any kind of attack through their affiliates. We should step up our military operations directly against Iran in order to prevent future attacks, which we are now all holding our breath in anticipation of happening. We should not be holding our breath.
Yeah. Thank you, Bonnie, for the super chat. Thank you, Race, for the super chat. Race says, for the James Valliant Google Fiber Fund, thank you for that. Thank you, Jonathan, for the super chat. So there's a few comments that I wanted to read, but now oh yeah. So Davy Boy asks or says, I wonder if allies of Tehran, most notably Russia and China, will try to influence the mullah regime. Why would they? I mean, they want things to get worse. Yeah, I wouldn't count on them. Willful Thinker says October 7th was the escalation. Any retaliation thereafter is just that. Absolutely. Bull Moose says super chats don't work for him. Daniel, I don't know if you know how to deal with that, but hopefully you can fix that. So here's some of Wall Street Journal article from today about this. Iranian leaders, says the Wall Street Journal, have vowed to retaliate. On Saturday, Iran told the Arab diplomats it didn't care if the response triggered a war, according to people familiar with the conversations. The U.S. asked European and other partner governments to convey a message to Iran not to escalate, warning any significant strike would draw a response and signaling that efforts by Iran's new president to improve engagement with the West would have a better chance if Iran shows restraint, according to people involved in the discussions. The U.S. also said as a part of its message that it was pressing Israel to de-escalate too. I mean, that's two paragraphs, and there's so much horrible stuff in there. So first of all, Iran says, look, we're gonna, you killed the leader of the organization that did October 7th for us. So you will pay for that. and we don't care if there's all-out war. We're fine with, hundreds of thousands or millions or however much need to dying because ultimately the goal is to wipe Israel off the map. And they have stated that openly and repeatedly, and that's pretty much the only thing the regime has as any goal. Um, so that's what they say. And then the US, I mean, this next paragraph, asking through countries that are somehow, on both the Western side, but also really cool with the Iranian dictatorship, asking them not to escalate, warning any significant strike would draw a response. So if it's significant, so we already know that 300 rockets and missiles and drones in April wasn't significant because as soon as it happened in the middle of the night, Biden called Netanyahu and said, take the win. So if it's just something like that, that's a win. So I don't
Amen.
know what the West considered significant, a significant strike, but it would draw a response. Now, we've seen a response to the attack in April as well. So a response could be anything. It could be any warehouse that's empty that gets bombed. Now, in addition, they're signaling efforts to Iran's new president to improve engagement with the efforts by the president to improve engagement with the West would have a better chance if Iran shows restraint. So if you don't try to kill as many Jews as you can, we'll give you money. That's what this amounts to. That is
That's it.
no other way. We'll give you money. We'll help prop up your dictatorship and help you keep oppressed your own people and plan for when you are ready to go to all-out war with Israel. And then at the very end, the U.S. also said that as a part of its message, it was pressing Israel to de-escalate too. So look, we know Israel are bad as well. We're just saying, you're not great either, and let's both sides are responsible, and let's everybody calm down.
This
I'm not
is
calm, so James.
This is sheer insanity. You'll notice that the Houthis could keep attack international shipping, send drones to Israel, send missiles to Israel. It wasn't until a man in Tel Aviv died. Now, that is morally outrageous. You do not wait until someone dies when someone is being, in fact, you don't even wait for the attack. If they're threatening the attack, you have a right to preemptively end it. But waiting until someone dies after you've gotten dozens and dozens of attacks from the Houthis against international shipping and directly against Israel, and they have to wait until someone dies, or consider the point you made there about taking the win. Hundreds of missiles and rockets and drones, as you pointed out, were launched directly against Israel. But that was a win because only one Bedouin girl dies? Really? That is disgusting. That is a total abdication of the government's responsibility. No, in fact, as you were pointing out about Hezbollah for so many weeks, you don't wait until tens of thousands of Israelis are displaced from their homes in northern Israel. You preemptively attack those monsters because you know that they are the aggressors here. And behind Hezbollah and behind the Houthis and behind Hamas is Iran. Not only have they directly attacked them, they are behind October 7th. So, what, after the attack in April, we're still telling Israel to de escalate and it will cause a response. No, 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 no. The moral response is to wipe out the government of Iran right now before they have any chance of responding at all.
Thank you, Apollo Zeus, for gifting an Ayn Rand Center UK membership. Thank you, Bullmoose, for the super chat. Bullmoose says couldn't send the original message as a super chat, so this is just to pay for it. But I have to say I don't see it. So Daniel, if you see it, I mean I see other messages about not being able to send a super chat, but Daniel, if you can send it to me here on the Zoom chat, that would be appreciated. And yeah, so a bit more from this article. Jordan said on Sunday it sent its uh oh, okay. So Daniel also can't see, and YouTube might have deleted it. So if you want to send it to us through the contact form on the website in time for before the show is over, we'll read it. If not, we'll read it on another show. Um, Jordan said on Sunday it sent its foreign minister to Tehran, and the Lebanese foreign minister was also headed to Cairo to discuss ways to diffuse tensions. So first of all, the Lebanese foreign minister, I guess that is his job, but everybody else in the Lebanese government should, instead of sending people to places to talk to Iran, should send its own military to fight Israel's war in a sense, because Israel's war is against an enemy from Lebanon. And my problem with the attack in Beirut, which overall, I'm a big fan of it, was how much of Beirut was undamaged. And certainly the neighborhood, which is a Hezbollah neighborhood, is a perfectly legitimate target. And nothing is done there. So yeah, you see all these Arab countries going to Tehran to beg because they know it's a problem. I mean, for Lebanon, it's definitely going to be a problem because they're very much a part of this war as a country that shoots at Israel daily. But yeah, and Jordan, everything will be flying above their heads, so they're probably not too happy with it. But yeah, again, what should happen here is Israel now launching a major attack on Iran with the support, ideally, of its so-called allies. That is not an act of war. It's not the start of a war. It is Israel accepting a situation that Iran has put itself in for since basically since the Ayatollahs came into power, but certainly since October 7th and much sooner. And the weird thing is Netanyahu has been talking about this since the late 90s. He's been talking mostly about Iran's nuclear weapons program. But he's been talking about how Israel needs to act. He now has, by any imaginable standard, other than the standard all Jews must die, by any other imaginable standard, he has every legitimate reason to attack Iran with the full might of the Israeli military capabilities. And yet he is sitting and waiting, and Israel is doing whatever it can to, to make sure the bomb shelters are cleared and that everybody is ready to, the defense systems are prepared. All of which, of course, should happen, but that's not all that should happen.
In fact, relying on that, I mean, relying on the Iron Dome, relying on people getting to the bomb shelters, I mean, that is such a pathetic state of existence here. No, the United, I hear that the United States is withholding those big bunker buster bombs from Israel, afraid that they would be used. Their excuse is they shouldn't be used in urban warfare, as if Israel, the way they're attacking in Gaza, would do that. You know what it would do? It would give Israel the capacity to take out Iran's nuclear program. It would give Israel the power to do big bombing against Iran, including, as I say, their military facilities and nuclear program. Now, if we're not willing to give Israel those big bunker bombs, then you could just see how reluctant America is to do what it is morally responsible to do. Take out killers of America, take out aggressors against civilization, and take out these people who are, as I say, they're the ones behind stopping shipping in the Red Sea. They're the ones who've been killing Americans through Hezbollah affiliates. They're the ones responsible for both Hezbollah and Hamas, and a vast attack directly against Israel in April, as you point out. No, America has a moral responsibility to take out the government of Iran, to surely destroy their nuclear program, to use those bunker buster bombs ourselves. But if we're not even willing to sell them or give them to Israel, you can imagine just how perverse our reaction is, how reluctant our reaction is. No, let the aggressor, and this is, I'm going to say it just as plain as possible. Iran is the fundamental aggressor of October 7th. To allow, yes, of course, those monsters who did it up close and personal, did the rapes and mutilations and killings of babies, kidnapping of hostages. They're, of course, the directly responsible, but they couldn't have done it without the training, without the arming, without the funding from Iran, and without the implicit green light from Iran. Iran is October 7th. And to have this attitude in the wake of October 7th, to not realize that Iran is October 7th, is the fundamental problem here. And until and unless we deal with Iran directly and decisively, we will get more and more October 7th. And this is exactly what Western policy is appeasing and making possible.
Yeah. By the way, we have a new troll in the chat. Of course, we don't read the names of trolls, but this is an Arabic name, which is unusual because usually our pro-Hamas, pro-jihad trolls have Western names. So this is an interesting development. Of course, Western, Arabic, Jewish, whatever names a troll has, they will not be read. But what will be read is trolls' comments on the reality show Extra, which follows this show, right after this show, so in about 10 or so minutes, Ayn Rand Center UK members can join the Zoom call, members who are members through the website, and YouTube members, including Davy Boy, who got gifted a membership today, and anybody else who is a member, of course, can join us, can watch the live stream. So yeah, there's a lot. We were going to do this much more frequently, and a lot has accumulated. So back to Bull Moose's super chat from before that we couldn't see. He said, this war has been going on for decades, and the only way to finally end it is for the West to come out the victor in a final showdown. And yeah, that the thing with that final showdown is, and we say this all the time, and we'll keep saying it until until somebody listens, until somebody who has the power to change things listens. Um, th this war will come because war is not tango. You don't need two, you need one. One side needs to decide there's going to be a war, and then there will be a war. And one side has already decided that there's going to be a war, and they're just, they're doing what they can from now until they, until they can properly wipe Israel off the map, and then that'll happen when the West can't actually win. So while the West can win, that would be a good time. And again, another thing we need to repeat is Israel is not Iran's only target. If they wipe Israel off the map, America is next. They say it all the time, and it might be much more difficult for them to wipe America off the map, but it's not going to be that difficult for them to cause real damage, to kill Americans. And yeah, we should hope that somebody wakes up in time. We will try to keep helping people wake up, and we are doing that, of course, with your support. Thank you, Mumu Joe, for the super chat, and thank you, Jonathan, for another super chat. James.
Yeah, no, we have to get our moral act together here. We have to withdraw our recognition from evil, evil states who only encourage this. And I include Turkey, who's a member of NATO, an alleged ally of the West. They've become increasingly hostile and actually helping aid and comfort these people. So we have to rethink our entire diplomatic approach to the Middle East and not even diplomatically recognize certain evil states. But when it comes to a state like Iran, it has to be taken out. And this final victory against Islam will never happen until we get that kind of moral clarity where we can totally take out the government of Iran and the moral clarity that says, oh, yeah, and even you, Turkey, you're going to face diplomatic consequences for your atrocious position. And until and unless we get that kind of moral clarity, ladies and gentlemen, from top to bottom, no such total victory, which I agree is necessary, will occur against the evil of Islamism in the world today.
Cargo Crew brings up a point that's interesting. He says, and the oil dependency. Now, well, the oil dependency is a problem. I don't think we use any oil from Iran, but the approach, the one of the major problems with the West's approach to the Middle East, we hear all the time from both the left and the right that we are intervening too much, and that's why they hate us, because of course Islam is the religion of peace, and otherwise they're super peaceful people unless we intervene in wars there. But the fact of the matter is, Western companies, Western minds, discovered its use. Remember, it is useless without the human mind, as is all so-called natural resources. And discovered its great value. And then government said, no, this is ours because it's our land, and the West accepted it. So we gave in many decades ago, and we've been giving in since, and we've been accepting, the fact that the oil in the Middle East belongs to whoever happens to control the geographical, area where it is, rather than to the minds who discovered it and discovered what to do with it. And we've been accepting it through oil embargoes and the like, and we've been accepting it while, from time to time realizing there's reason for military action in the Middle East, and then doing so apologetically because we hear, oh, you're just going to war for oil, which of course would have been legitimate had it been done, at any point since the oil was taken by force from the people who discovered it and knew what to do with it.
Yeah, here at ARCUK, I just want to point out that the British were ripped off big time in the 1950s. It wasn't just American interests, there was some large British interests. Now, do you think these Iranians could have found the oil, dug it up, refined it, much less have a market or a use for it like the industrialized West does? No. All of that, as you point out, is a product of the West. They stole British oil. They stole the British capacity to find it, get it out of the ground, uh, ship it, refine it. They stole it. They stole all of that technology and industry, which was British private companies, ladies and gentlemen, that was stolen in the 1950s by Iran. No response. Well, if there's no response to that kind of a theft, of course. Now, the West does have petroleum resources, and we should actively privatize and exploit those resources so that we aren't dependent on countries like Saudi Arabia and other Arab states that we do depend on. Iran, there is a boycott, but of course, America doesn't enforce the boycott, so Iran can make tens of billions of dollars selling their oil to China, which is an obscenity in itself. But Iran, could they have found it? Did they have any use for it? Was it really theirs? No. And it was Brits who were ripped off 70 years ago, mind you, by Iranians. And we just let that go by. We just let that go by. They had no capacity to get that oil or refine that oil or uses for that oil. That was British oil, ladies and gentlemen, that was stolen.
Yeah, and it works great with cars, great with planes, not so great with camels. So yeah, and yeah, Cargo Crew says thorium and other nuclear technology can be found. Yes, of course, the West should first of all liberate its own, local energy markets completely and have everything compete with each other. And if it ends up that, we all just put, solar panel hats on our heads and everything will run from that, great, but let the marketplace decide. But yeah, let's also not let savages get away with being savages and behaving to us as savages. Somebody in the chat says Israel can give Iran what they want, but leave America out of it. It's not Israel or us at the Ayn Rand Center UK who are pulling America into it. America is in it. So unless you want to wake up someday, again, probably not in the very near future, but someday living in the Islamic states of America, maybe you should consider people who say death to America and have an army of, one of the biggest armies in the world and invest all their money into bringing about that death to America, maybe you should consider believing them and then, yeah, not fight this war for Israel, but fight it selfishly.
Yeah.
James, parting thoughts?
Yeah, I don't only believe their words, which they're very, very clear about. The great Satan America, death to Israel, death to America. Listen to them, take them, but their behavior proves it. They bankrolled October 7th, just to pick one example. So believe it when they say it, and it's impossible to evade unless you're really evading and rationalizing when they actually act on it and slaughter innocent civilians, as they have been doing for the last almost quarter or half century now of the Islamic Republic of Iran. They must be destroyed. You can't give them what they want, unless in the sense that we mean. They want a war. Let's give them a war, Western style, the way America and Israel could deliver war to Iran, which could wipe them off that government off this map of the earth, which is what needs to happen.
This new troll says, "You guys are a collapsing country." Which guys? Which James is in the U.S. I'm in the UK. We're a company, not a country. Although the world would be a better place if we were a country. But thank you for that. We appreciate it not just because the engagement helps with the algorithm and helps more people see this content, but also it helps us create content for the reality show Extra, where we will be reading trolls' comments without reading their names. But trolls, you can also become members, YouTube members of the Ayn Rand Center UK easily by clicking there, and you can become members through the website at any level between £10 a month and £500 a month. We will spend that money better than you will, and I'm sure all the trolls in our chat can easily afford £500 a month. So, yeah,
One
James.
parting thought, the Islamists are saying it today, but 70 years ago, the Khrushchev was banging, 60 some years ago, he's banging at the UN table saying, "We will bury you." I'm used to being called a part of a dying, decadent, decaying civilization called capitalism. And, the Islamist version of it is no more credible than the communist version was.
Yeah, and again, they say it because they are telling the truth when they say that they love death more than we love life. Unfortunately, not us at the Ayn Rand Center UK again, but us in the West seem to not love life enough to listen when people say they want nothing more than to slaughter us, even at the cost of their own life. And yeah, so our message and my parting thought is listen to the savages and hashtag believe them. The Ayn Rand Center UK's membership program will continue to create additional content for people who help support our cause in helping people in the West listen to what's going on. And the next installment of that is starting in a couple of minutes, the reality show Extra. Thanks, James. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Thanks, Gail, for the last minute super chat. And we will see you right over in TRS Extra.
Be safe.